This is Insta360 X4 and what I believe to be the greatest 360-degree recording action camera of all time, and maybe not for much longer. So this camera came out exactly 1 year ago. I'm gonna talk about my experience with this camera, as I bought it just after its release for $500 USD, and I was blown away from the new enhancements and new features like 8K recording. And so yeah, today I'm gonna be talking about my experience with this camera and what this thing can do for someone who uses like a GoPro or any other ordinary action camera, because this is pretty much what the X4 is, except it's 360 and adds pretty much more creativity and a lot more possibilities, and also the pros and cons, the highlighting features and other enhancements this camera brought to the industry, and probably some more stuff, and also what this camera is like 1 year later, and if I would actually recommend it to you. Even this is actually a pretty beginner-friendly camera, and also can be used, I guess, professionally because of how nice it is. And also I'm going to be talking about a little bit what Insta360 has planned next. And something actually kind of crazy popped up in this video, and we'll have to wait for the end for me to kind of unleash and talk more about that, because they're coming out with a new camera that may or may not be like in hours away, because I'm so delayed at making the video. And so yeah, whatever, if they are coming out with a new camera, which you'll be able to tell by the end of the video if they are, I'll talk all about it, then I'm going to be getting the new camera and reviewing it. If so, I'd really recommend watching to the end, because we have some interesting stuff coming up, and something I'm pretty surprised about, because they've only released a new camera every 2 years for the X series, and if it's going to be a year from now, which it has been now, that's kind of weird. Anyway, with that said, let's jump right into the video. So let's first talk about my thoughts and my experience with this camera, because it's been like a year and a day as of this second. All right, so first of all, ever since 2022 or whatever, I've always used GoPros. I'm using one right now. I don't as much now, because I try to be more professional. I typically use my phone, but I have some mic issues. I always like compact, strong, and safe, simple cameras, and I've always had that. I don't prefer simple cameras too much now. I've always used these cameras. And Insta360s now recently, and I've liked it because it's similar to GoPro. It's simplistic, and that's one thing to keep in mind. I think a lot of people, this will throw them off a little bit. The fact that it's 360, they might think that must be complex. That's a 360-degree recording action camera. I've never heard of that. Not really more complex than a GoPro. Probably very similar, maybe more simple in a few areas. I'm not even kidding. When I was checking out the camera's user interface and a little bit of the app, I was like, isn't there more to this? And I was blown away with it being 8K, 30 frames per second, tops for like, you know, recording 360. And it could also do the highest resolution, which is 5.7K at 30 FPS. It could do the highest resolution for the X3, the previous camera that they came out with. And it could do that, but at 60 frames per second, so you could slow it down by 2. And so it just doubled the resolution and frame rates of the past camera. And so I was really impressed with the 8K, reframing it to 4K thing. Like, it was pretty much 4K all around. Maybe I'm just yapping too much, but I was impressed that 360 cameras, generally, when you reframe them or record normally, you'll get a lower resolution than 4K. But the X4, that was not really with it. It had nice colors, it looked nice, it was high quality. It's $500, so they're more expensive than a Max at the time. More expensive than a GoPro. It's pretty much $100 to $150 more than your average action camera right now. So I really like the idea of it and how creative you can get. And ShotLab, if you guys know what I'm talking about, on the app, it's just really creative, and you can do a bunch of things on it. I'm not going to explain it. And they also incorporate a lot of AI, a lot more than GoPro would. They barely do any AI stuff. I can't name a thing. Insta360 has more AI stuff, more creativity, more things to do. And I really like the concept of that. And I like how it's 360, you know, for your sports. You can capture everything at once. I can capture everything, the sky, the little clouds in the sky, the birds flying by, if that rhymes, the fish that's being caught on the boat. Like, put this into an example of on the boat and where we're flying by the water. And also, what this camera has mainly done for me, and will also do for people like you or whatever, or my audience, what this thing does is it adds creativity. Like with ShotLab, there's AI warp. You could, let's say a lot of your scene includes the sky. Let's say you're flying by the sky. I don't even know. I have bad examples. You could swap out the sky on ShotLab. You can make like animations on your screen. You could do a bunch of interactive edits and stuff with ShotLab automatically, assisting with AI sometimes. I can't explain it super well, but that's pretty much what it looks like. You could do a bunch of time lapses in 11K, reframe it to about 4K at least. I mean, it depends on how much you zoom in. It could be 120 or no, like what? 144p if you zoom in all the way, but normally it'd be like 4K or 5K, whatever. They won't call it that always, but yeah, I like how their time lapses are 11K, and it typically will record in 8K. But whatever, there's so many other things like that, and innovative things with being a 360 camera. You get to capture everything at once, or you get to focus on one thing whenever you want to focus on one thing, because you can't do everything at once. You have to eventually choose. Unless the video is gonna be 360p, or no, 360 when you send it to you. I'm not even gonna talk about it. All right, now for pros and cons. Now, this is gonna be difficult. Now, I honestly don't really have many pros or cons. So I was gonna originally say this, I did, but I'm not putting it in the video. I had an Air with, micro SD card. They're so small. There's gonna be issues with them every now and again, and probably had them with my GoPros before, but I put in a 1 terabyte I got for Christmas. SanDisk Extreme is like 94 bucks or something. I don't know, around 100, a little under 100 now, which is kind of crazy. But I put back in a 256 because I figured out that 1 terabyte's faulty, so I'm just gonna be replacing it for I'll be putting it into a different camera later on. But I solved that con, so that's not a con for me too. So that was my only con. But other than that, my other con is it can't be everything at once. So GoPros, they're different. They have one sensor connected to a processor, right? And so that one camera can be specialized. So it's not going to be like formatted to create a 360 video in 8K 30 FPS, and as a bonus it has 4K 60 FPS in single lens mode like the X4. But the GoPro gets to focus on that because it has a relatively similar price, and it's a one camera system, one sensor system. So pretty much the con with that is the GoPro is going to get the 4K 120 and 5.360. The X4 doesn't get that high of a resolution because it goes more than this, but the 8K gets split up between those two lenses, those two sensors with the X4. If you understand what I'm talking about, that's kind of a con. A pro, there's so many pros, and those are our highlight main new enhancement and features. And so like the X4 and beyond, if like the new cameras, like the X4 is kind of perfect. Like, don't get me wrong. And then from then on, it's just like building off of the X4 and just being an amazing camera, because the X4 for me, I could really use it. You reframe, as long as you reframe it appropriately, the 8K, you can get 4K all around pretty much wherever you want to reframe. It's hard to talk about the cons and the pros. It's mainly in the features of this camera, which I cannot really explain right now. There eventually will be a link probably in the corner of the screen somewhere on a review video I made, but whatever, let's get on to the cons. Or I already covered the cons and pros. It's mainly the features, so that will cover it for you. I'm just going to talk about some of the features in this new camera because it's releasing pretty much today, as soon as you see this video. That right there is an Insta360 X4. It looks like one. That's the X5 supposedly. So yeah, they're releasing a new camera. I was trying to make this video with me being completely safe and open to Insta360, like they coming with new camera, and me being delayed. I tried to post this on the weekend, couldn't get it done. Self-explanatory. You can kind of see that already. But yeah, this new camera is going to be building off the X4. I thought it'd be like a collection of small tweaks, like a GoPro 12 from an 11 type of enhancement. Really nothing. Like that was Thursday. So they made that post a few days before. I didn't notice it, but there's some images. Show you them, flash them up on screen, and there've been more recent ones. The retailer price is supposed to be $550 USD. Estimated, I think it's accurate to whatever. I think there might be a bigger processor, but the main point is they've been teasing, I think all day, all night, all angles is 360 all day. Yeah, pretty casual. All 360 cameras can record in daytime, but in nighttime, it's supposed to be better at night. And here's a comparison here, as from the 13 to the X5, this new camera, they call it might actually be called something else, but there have been leaked photos saying the name. So here's a list of everything else, by the way. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. There's a list. This camera's pretty much almost dropped by now because it's dropped like really early the next day, the same day of release. So their share of the video, their Insta360 X5 release video, or
I'm 99% sure that's what they're gonna say, but all this evidence supports itself along with that list you saw. So yeah, go off that list if you're interested in referencing any of that stuff, whatever. But main improvement looks like a 1-inch sensor. I'll cover a YouTube short about it later, and I'll do some reviews and unboxings. This is a pretty cool camera. I can't wait to see the video in the morning. Anyway, see you guys then. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you enjoy our content, and peace.